could do
even
it.
with this series that we're doing, I have a team. I have Imagine is helping me put this together. So I have a team for the first time. And they said, oh, we're going to find this, we're going to do that, we're going to skydive off of balloon, all these things. I said, no, find me things that when I hear them, I'm going to be very uncomfortable hearing to even think about doing. Find me those things that when I hear them, I want to run away. That's what I want. So I said, okay, we're going to cover you with 250,000 bees. You're going to do this. You're going to be put on fire. You're going to have scorpions. So
a lot of things that you did, we did on Fear Factor. We covered people with bees on Fear Factor.
Right.
We covered people with scorpions on Fear Factor.
Right.
Especially those big-ass dark black scorpions. What are those called? What kind of scorpions are those called?
Maybe like the elephant scorpions or something.
I don't remember what they're called, but the really big, scary-looking, black, shiny ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and people got lit up by those things, too.
And they get stung, too.
And it's like a bee sting.
I think it's like 20 bee stings.
Is it like 20?
I think so.
Whatever it is. It's not good.
I was stung by the first.
Is it an emperor scorpion? Is
yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah,
those are terrifying.
I was stung by the first scorpion. The first one. And you have to stay perfectly still and perfectly calm.
And unlike a bee, they don't die.
But
they can keep stinging you.
But with the bees, it really was incredible to be, we put the queen and the locket around the neck and then they all swarm you. And when they're all vibrating around your body, it is one of those feelings. It is pure magic, unlike anything you've ever experienced.
Wow.
I don't recommend it, but it is incredible. It's just when I shook them off, that's when I think I started to get stung.
When we did it on Fear Factor, this was very interesting. We did it at this ranch, and there was a local hive of bees. So we had all the bees that we brought in. We covered people with bees, but then a local hive sent a bunch of bees to find out what the fuck was going on. And the beekeeper knew that these were different bees. And I said, hey, we have to stop production right now for a while. They have to sort this out because they have to communicate with each other.
Right.
So somehow or another, these local bees were talking to these bees that we brought in, and they're like, hey, what the fuck are you guys doing here? They're like, oh, we're doing a TV show. Whatever the fuck they said to each other. But there was some sort of communication, and apparently it was settled to the point where the local bees were like, they had made some sort of an agreement. The local bees left. And then the other bees, and then we went back to filming. But we had to stop down production for, I think it was like a good half an hour, where these bees had to work this out. And I was saying to the guys.
These are so incredible.
And I was so fascinated. I was like, how are they doing this? Like, what's going on? We don't know. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know how but I know that this is how it works. But even when
they want to kill like a wasp, they all surround the wasp and they all vibrate and make the temperature go up. And they're incredible.
Right. And how do they know? How do they know to do that?
Yeah.
How do they know? I have leaf
Even
cutter.
just their hives are so symmetrically perfect.
Right. How do they know how to make that?
Yeah.
Like what kind of communication are they having?
And they're so efficient too. Just the uses of space and the way they design it is like architecture that we can't even do now.
It's pretty amazing. And they're doing it with their mouths, We have leaf cutter ants. It's very common out here. And, they'll destroy plants. They just take little pieces of each leaf, and you see like a whole line of these ants. And I don't know if you've ever seen leafcutter ants hive, their colonies. They have these incredibly complex systems that they build in the ground. And the way we've found out about these things is by, unfortunately, flooding them with cement. So they'll flood these bee things, these ant colonies, these leaf cutter ant, these whatever they would call these hives or whatever they call it, and then they dig it all out. And when they dig it all out after it's covered with cement, they get to see how insanely complex these structures are. So they have these little pods that they have, these areas that they have designated where they build these holes. So they dig in and they remove all the dirt, and these long tunnels, and they even have ventilation systems where some of the leaves will ferment. So they have leaves that are slowly decaying and fermenting, and they build them so that these leaves have access to oxygen. They have no idea how these leafcutter ants are communicating, how they know how to do this, how they figure this out, and how they consistently do this all over the world. Like, look how enormous this structure is that they're digging out. And this is all because they
That's
filled the
unbelievable.
entire thing up with concrete. So here's they're pouring this concrete. So there you see the leafcutter ants. You see the surface area. And then they slowly dump this concrete in there, which is like a fucking genocide of leafcutter ants. Unfortunately, it's the only way they can find this out. And then once they do that, once they've done it, then they allow it to harden, and then they slowly dig it out. Takes a long time. But the result is this knowledge of this insane insect
Wow.
that has these complex structures.
That is crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Because if you think of how tiny an ant is and how big that is, that's akin to like Manhattan. Like, what the fuck are they
Probably
doing?
more.
Yeah, it's amazing. And how? What's going on? Like, how do they know how to do this? How do they know how to do this in Africa? And they also know how to do this in Texas. How do they know how to do this?
Yeah, it's
What's going on?
unbelievable. Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep.